Good evening. Welcome to the Haywood County Board of Commissioners meeting for November 21st, 2016. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to meet as commissioners to do the county's work. We ask for guidance as we do so. During this Thanksgiving season, we are grateful for all your blessings. We ask your blessings on Mark as he retires from the board, and on Brandon as he joins us, and on the entire board during 2017. We ask for the end of the drought in western North Carolina and for protection for our firefighters. In your name we pray. Amen.
Okay, we'll move then to the public comment session. I don't have anyone signed up to speak. Is there anyone present who would care to address the board? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to constituent concerns. Bill?
I don't have any.
Kurt?
I don't have any.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay. All right, we have no administrative or agency reports today. I'm unaware of any adjustments to the agenda. Does any commissioner have an adjustment? Okay, if not, then we'll move to the consent agenda. We've had the opportunity to review the November 7th, 2016 regular meeting minutes. Are there any changes to those? Okay. Then we'll move to the second item, which is refunds, releases, amendments, and discoveries. We have Judy Hickman, our tax assessor, here. Welcome, Judy.
Good evening. I'm requesting approval of the October 2016 refunds, releases, amendments, and discoveries. It's not anything out of the ordinary.
Nothing noteworthy. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is the tax collections update for October 2016. Welcome, Mike.
Good evening. Our current numbers right now, we're at 22.36, and our delinquents were at 1.458.
Okay. Any questions of Mike?
I was wondering, like on the where it says real property receivable in the first column right there, like say for 2013 it says 143,790. What is that? Just primarily past? Is that just for real estate?
I mean, it'd be for the houses. I mean, pretty much everything we've got is for everything.
Was it like personal property also?
It'd be personal property and everything that we've got that we do. I mean, it's for
so that's
2013.
why, like in 2008 and 2007, we got like 45,000 owed, and is that like for?
It would be the same
property,
thing.
Where you can't there's nothing you can get for personal property.
No, there's stuff we can get for it if there's stuff that they find it. I mean, there's stuff there if they have an account or that sort of thing. But
Okay,
yeah, I mean, there's stuff there.
That's kind
but
of what you reckon that's what most of that is?
I would say so. I mean, I guess I haven't looked at actually what detail it is, and I don't intend to really. I mean, I'll still collect on the amount, but
Okay. I was just wondering what it
yeah,
is.
that's
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
like I haven't done a breakdown on individual what it is. So
Okay.
Okay, we'll move next into a series of budget amendments. Julie Davis, our finance director. Good evening, Julie.
Good evening. The first budget amendment that I have for you is a $10,211, and we're putting some money into facilities and maintenance for motor vehicles. Our facilities and maintenance director has worked with our EMS department in trying to get an ambulance taken apart and giving the chassis part to facilities and maintenance. And they have some sales of capital assets that we're showing here as a revenue source to cover getting this chassis upgraded so it can be used as a utility truck for facilities and maintenance.
Okay. Any questions of Julie? Okay.
The next one is $26,986. This is an increase in the budget for property and general liability insurance when we've discovered that the flood maps had changed and we have a property that's in the flood zone, so we needed to get flood insurance, and it's the law enforcement center. we're taking this amount from contingency in the general fund.
Julie, is that because the flood map changed? Is that primarily why? 'Cause
It's
we weren't-
primarily because the flood map changed. If you'll remember, though, back in '04, I don't think we had that finished, and we didn't have any flooding in that area to speak of. And with the flood mapping changing a little bit, we decided we better make sure we were covered just in case.
Did the new map show it within that 100-year flood?
Yes,
Did it?
it did.
Okay.
Yeah, and we've got the new maps. In fact, Chris Boyd, our planning director, has those, so you can see them. We can send them to you.
I got a lot of calls whenever those maps came out because properties that weren't in it were all of a sudden in it, and then vice
Yes,
versa.
right.
So, okay.
A little odd since it didn't flood in '04. But
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, I know, it's good, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Julie, go ahead.
All right, the next one is $4,350 in the Public Health Department. This is just an exchange between two departments, the expense line items, so that we could purchase some software in the environmental health area.
Just a reallocation.
Just reallocation, exactly.
And the last one.
The last one is a total of $10,351. This is a grant from the Justice Assistance Program to enable the sheriff's office to get some bulletproof armor and bulletproof vests and that kind of thing.
Okay, any questions there? Okay, any comments on the consent agenda? If not, we entertain a motion that the consent agenda as presented be approved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. All right, we don't have any old business today. We'll begin then the new business. You may remember that we have established an affordable housing task force some time back, and Donna Stewart, the administrative program analyst and evaluator, is here to make a report on where we stand. Donna?
Good evening, gentlemen. Yep, as you mentioned, on March 21st, you approved the creation of a task force to focus on issues of affordable housing and homelessness in the county. The primary duties of the task force were to assess the situation in our county and to develop a plan to address it. I'd like to give you a short update. Patsy Davis of Mountain Projects and myself serve as co-chairs of the task force. The task force has now met twice and enjoys a very high level of support from the community. Participants in the task force include leadership and staff members from all of the towns, nonprofit organizations such as Pathways, Habitat for Humanity, Mountain Projects, REACH, the Community Kitchen, local developers, Haywood County Schools, the Economic Development Council, the Board of Realtors, members of the public, and Commissioner Ensley. Media has also provided detailed coverage. In August 2016, we released an affordable housing assessment for the county. Some key findings from that study. Housing is said to be affordable when housing costs are 30% or less of household income. In Haywood County, over half of all renters and 35% of homeowners report paying more than 30% of household income for housing. The study identified two populations in particular in need of affordable housing, now and in the future. By 2020, senior citizens are expected to constitute 36.5% of households with an annual income of $15,000 or less in our county. Many of these households are reliant on Social Security and also have a need for housing that is both affordable and accessible due to physical limitations. At the other end of the spectrum are members of the millennial generation, those aged 25 to 34, many of whom entered the workforce during the Great Depression, the recent one. This includes many young families. They make up about 11.7% of the population with household incomes below $15,000. An estimated 15.8% of the county's population lives below the poverty line, which for a family of four is roughly $24,300. The fair market rent established by the Department of Housing and Urban Development is $811 for a two-bedroom unit in our area. Someone earning minimum wage, for example, would need to work 86 hours a week to afford this unit. However, there are very few rentals available in our county. Multifamily units make up only 7.4% of our total housing stock. Two-bedroom units typically rent for more than $811. The waiting list for Section 8 has long been closed, with wait times for those on the list of 2 years or more. The median sale price of a home in the county increased from $1,444 $100,000 in April 2015 to $169,000 in April 2016, a 17% increase. Wages have not kept pace with housing costs. While the lack of affordable housing is a national issue, our regional dynamics and the Asheville housing crisis make the problem particularly acute in our county. We anticipate the need for affordable housing will continue to grow. Having completed this somewhat somber assessment, the task force is now turning its efforts towards the development of a plan to meet this need. Already, it has become clear there is no quick fix for this problem and no single solution. We are fortunate to have strong support from the community as well as you. The next meeting of the task force is January 9th. We invite any interested members of the public to attend and participate. Thank you, gentlemen.
Any questions for Dr. Stewart? Okay. The next item on the agenda is basically a continuation of this subject matter. As Dr. Stewart's statistics point out, there's a large challenge here in this county. But there's potential solutions. Next up would be requesting approval of a resolution giving preliminary approval to the issuance of revenue bonds to finance the acquisition and rehabilitation, construction, and equipping of affordable housing in Waynesville, and this would affect our historic Haywood County Hospital. So at this point, I recognize David Francis.
Good evening, commissioners, members of the public. Appreciate this opportunity. One of the things I want to thank is Donna for all her help and guidance during this process. She has been an invaluable asset to our team and is a very hard worker and a very thoughtful person that we have added here, and is definitely looking out for the benefit of the citizens of Haywood County. If you remember, this time last year, we began discussing the renovation of the historic hospital. We had partnered up with Landmark at that time. We went through the process with that, and there was the avenue we went there was the 9% tax credit program there. And unfortunately, in August, that we learned that only 2 adaptive projects in the whole state were chosen, and only a handful of projects were chosen in the western part of North Carolina for affordable housing. Sometimes they drew the line to go for Western North Carolina all the way to Gaston County there, but only the far western, there's only a handful. Since that time, a local group of Haywood County business persons has came to the county and asked if we could entertain something a little bit different, just with the renovation of the historic hospital, but also new construction for affordable housing. Since that time, the local group has worked to solidify their idea and their thoughts, and have co-partnered with other people and other corporations that have large amounts of experience in affordable housing. I'd like to introduce the local team: Rob Rowland, Virgil Daughtry, Beth Daughtry, Chad Carver. One of their partners, Ironwood Capital, Mr. Rick Inman out of Atlanta, came up here this evening. And the other partner is Rick Angino. He was a former member of the Landmark folks that we had worked with last year. He's off on his own now with Third Wave and Sari Associates. From these partnerships came not only to renovate the historic hospital, but to really address the affordable housing issues in Haywood County with an additional 250 affordable housing units for our community. This project consists of a senior housing community near Lake Junaluska, where the Great Laurels is presently at, and also on that same drive on Jewel Noland, another project there, and of course the renovation of the historic hospital that will be converted for senior residence and office space. Before you is a resolution, an agreement for the preliminary approval for the issuance of multifamily revenue bonds for the renovation and development and construction of 300 units of affordable housing for Haywood County in the amount not to exceed $45 million. So be mindful, this resolution and this agreement for these bonds does not constitute a debt or the full faith and credit of Haywood County. So how do we go from renovating a hospital for $7 million to $45 million bond project? The bonds are part of the same program that is offered for the North Carolina Housing Finance. When we were finishing our debriefing in September with Landmark, we were told that the ever-changing tax credits for the hospital probably would not work out for 2017. The only way that the hospital or any other project out of the urban areas would be going through the bonding route. Unfortunately, with the hospital being a small project of only 50 units, it's just cost prohibitive to go out there and spend the large amounts of capital that you have to spend to go ahead and the issuance of the bonds. So just like last year, the LIHTC tax credits that were pursued and the issuance of these bonds comes from a 30-year-old Tax Reform Act of 1986 to provide market incentives to acquire and develop and rehabilitate affordable housing. The IRS allocates these federal tax credits to the state housing credit agencies, which in our case is the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. This year, we anticipate that these tax credits and the volume cap bonds will have almost $1 billion. In 2015, it was $944 million, so we're close to $1 billion. And most of these volume cap bonds have went unused in the state of North Carolina, these tax credits. So to promote private activities, these bonds are deemed to benefit for the public that each state can issue private activity volume cap tax-exempt bonds under the Internal Revenue Code 142. The tax-exempt nature of these bonds makes them more attractive for bond purchasers. Being tax-exempt helps offset, other costs and things when people are moving in and out of the bond market. The way this program is structured, that these bonds do not, and again, I have to repeat it, but do not constitute a debt or a pledge of money or credit of Haywood County to pursue this project. Haywood County is the gatekeeper of the program. By passing this resolution and agreement, we are saying that we feel this project has merits and we're worthy of pursuing. And we'd like for the developers to begin the physical and the fiscal work that needs to be done to initiate this project and submit their application to the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. There are a lot of moving parts to this deal with the structure and the 3 projects. So their preliminary approval gives the developer the time and to iron out the details with their underwriters, attorneys, and to pay the costs associated with such projects, like the environmental assessments and other things that they would need to pursue this. Concurrently, the county will be conducting their own form of due diligence to ensure certain benchmarks are met, thus allowing better control of the moving parts, and the county is required to conduct a public hearing to finalize any issuance of the bonds. So there are steps along the way. The application to the North Carolina Housing Finance, there's two processes there. Come back here for a public hearing before the issuance of the bonds, and there'll be lots of different people involved in this to make sure this project is a success. So there's a lot of stopgap measures that we have in place, and this is not something new to North Carolina. There are several projects that are in the works now. Mr. Angino is currently working on one in Thomasville that has the very same makeup as ours does, with building affordable housing from the ground up, in which most of the affordable housing now is new construction. The readaptive purposes are becoming few and far between. So just a few more items. The old hospital will be sold for somewhere in the neighborhood of $775,000 or more, and will be renovated for senior housing and office space. As with any kind of affordable housing, the county has to have some skin in the game. And so what our skin in the game is that we will be leasing the front of the hospital back for office space for 10 to 12 years, using the funds that are available from the sale. We will help the developers obtain the National Historic Tax Credits. The town of Waynesville, once again, will be a strategic infrastructure partner with us. The developer, by signing this agreement, agrees to reimburse the county for any and all out-of-pocket expenses. The only thing that the county will have expense-wise in it is our time from Ira, mine, Chip's, to Donna's, and some other folks that we pull in. But anything else out of the pocket, the hiring of attorneys, which we've engaged counsel last week to help us with where we are with this. We'll be engaging bond counsel if the resolution passes to ensure that the bonds are done right and everything that would need to be done, because there's lots of I's and lots of T's to be dotted. This is new for us, but we feel very strongly that it is needed. Julie and I have had several conversations about, that we're a little bit nervous, but we're also very excited about this. But, we're not stepping out of our comfort zone. We're moving forward. We're trying to help people. As you know, how the county came together in the last 2 weeks, to help rescue some animals. There's a lot of people out there that need some rescuing as well, too. and I think this is a good project for Haywood County. I wholeheartedly recommend this as I did the last project for this. I think that you have a lot of people that here that are very concerned and would like to see this project move forward. The only risk, we were talking this afternoon, there is very low risk in the project not succeeding. All the projects that have been in North Carolina have succeeded and have been done. The hospital, once the hospital is sold, it becomes collateral for the developers and for whatever entity they form after that, or the trustee. If somehow the project did not succeed, we would not receive the hospital back. Those are the only two forms of risk I could find, except, having to move through this step by step by step. It's just, we're not doing anything that's not been done in the state of North Carolina. And as I said, Landmark said the only way that we'll be able to get something like this done is go the bonding route. Okay.
Well, we've certainly tried everything else.
I'm sorry, sir?
We've certainly tried everything else.
Yeah, as mentioned, there was a 9% tax credit and now these tax exempt bonds. And once the developers qualify for the tax exempt bonds and the volume cap, then they also are automatically qualified for 4% development to help the project even succeed further.
And I'm sure, Julie, you've spoken with the local government commission.
Yes, I have, and they have done a number of these, and it will need to go before them to be approved from the county's side of it.
And Chip, you've been involved in the...
Yes, I have been. I have some background in affordable housing, not recent, but I'm certainly want to stay involved in this, yes.
And your comfort level is high as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, would any of the... You have any more?
Yeah, if Chad and
Yeah.
Mr. Inman would like to come up.
Good evening, gentlemen. I just want to say thank you for considering this resolution tonight. It's been a long time coming. I know you guys have seen many different plans over the years. And for being proactive in trying to deal with affordable housing, we've been fortunate enough to be a part of this task force with Mr. Inslee also. And there's going to be great things coming from that, I believe, soon. But then this is just the start. So we're very excited to get to this point and to provide some solutions for the county with affordable housing. And before I stop, I would be remiss if I didn't thank the county office, members of the county who've helped us along the way, Mr. Dove, Mr. Burris, Dr. Stewart, and even Mr. Francis. They've been great assistance. If it wasn't for them, I could safely say we wouldn't be here today. They've been very collaborative, and I'm proud that they are serving the county as a citizen of this county. So thank you very much.
David may have mentioned it, but just for the public's benefit, how many units once we're built out?
300 units is the proposed
Okay.
there. Okay. And one of the things, let me clarify too, there is that the reason it's 45 million, they don't anticipate it being that high, but once they make the application, you can't go up in number. You can go back down, but you can't go up and say, oh, there's a market study came through and says that you applied for 200, but you needed 300. So we're setting the threshold there to be, high there to where we can get everything in that we need to. And again, so there's $1 billion out there. So you're talking about 45 million. It's not, not that great in percentage-wise to that. And so, again, we'll have the due diligence. We'll go through the public hearing again, and then the board will have the final vote before this project ever proceeds on. Okay. Mr.
Thank you. Let me just say thanks to the commissioners as well for considering this. We heard earlier there's obviously an affordable shortage of affordable housing, and this is a way that we think we can move forward and help solve that problem. It's a long journey, but long journey begin with first step. So we appreciate your considering the inducement resolution. It's a first step, and hopefully we'll be able to move it forward and come up with a community that we'll all be proud of.
Thank you. All right. Any questions or comments?
David, again.
Yes, sir.
Two-bedroom, if you're renting in Haywood County, what
I'm sorry, sir?
For a two-bedroom apartment, what kind of money we talk about for rent per month?
The averages, that may be a better Donna question for.
I remember 800 or,
The figure I quoted was the HUD fair market rate, and that is a threshold that is set by HUD, what they consider to be the fair market rate for the area, and they use that as a benchmark for their voucher program. That doesn't necessarily mean that there are units available at $811 in the community.
so if you minimum wage, you're really spending a large portion of your payroll for rent.
Absolutely. Anything over 30% of household income is considered to be, housing cost burden. So affordable housing is trying to get housing costs down to 30% or less.
30%,
David, you and Julie had talked and said you had some concerns. And I wanted to know, what concerns did you have?
Going through, when you mentioned the word bonds, we've done, certain bonds through the county. We mentioned the ones that we had done for Blue Ridge, Evergreen, Champion at the time were environmental bonds. And so this was just another, step with affordable housing. The environmental bonds are, still labeled under the same section of the IRS code. But it was just, that we were just bouncing back and forth those, okay, here's what we need to be looking for, here's what we need to be, mindful for as we start developing an air checklist about how we, proceed and do our due diligence along the way as well, too. It was just, but as far as the agreement and knowing this is preliminary and knowing that, that as we move forward, that we have some homework ahead of us as well, too.
Okay, and you said that the county would not be responsible for the repayment of the bonds, right?
Correct. So if you want me to explain that structure a little bit better, I'll be glad to. So these bonds, they are put out to the public, which banking institutions and private individuals who want to invest in the bond for this project. So they were put out there on the open market, free market, to be purchased, for the revenue source to generate for the building and construction of the project. And then after that, when the project is up and running, then the proceeds from the project go back to pay the investors for their involvement at that point. So so what happens is the county is saying that, hey, we agree with this project, and counties are only ones that, cities are only ones that can induce tax-exempt bonds. It has to come from a public entity. And then what we're enticing is, another private-public partnership is a great way to look at, how that we're doing this. So we're working with these individuals in the private sector to develop, affordable, housing for our members of our community. So, but those bonds go out into the open market. There's a whole, a flow chart about where it starts. There's a trustee involved in how then they are sold to the open market for whatever market rate is at that time.
Okay, and so there's no obligation to repay. What about the cost, the process?
Okay, because again, we have, engaged a counsel for the resolution and the agreement. When we started working this, that was one of our concerns that Julie and I had, was just, making sure that the agreement, even though it's preliminary form, we wanted to make sure that the county was not on the hook for anything, and that as it says in here several times, that, the full faith and the credit of the county, will not be attached to this project. But what also in there, it says that, I think on the agreement on 3 different occasions, that any out-of-pocket expenses that the county incurs, that the developers will reimburse the county for those expenses.
Okay, and so that's all legal fees?
It's legal fees, yeah, because like I said, we've already engaged counsel for the resolution and the inducement. Of course, we're going to have to engage legal counsel when the bond issue comes up for the county as well. Ira and Julie have already been talking to a bond counsel to talk to them about if this does pass, what our next steps would be for that. So any other expenses that we have, those are, right off the bat that, we've had those legal expenses, and we'll anticipate having, more along the way.
And those are repaid when the investors are repaid, or out of the proceeds that the investors pay for the bonds?
Yeah, the developers are agreeing to pay this on demand right now. We will have to wait until the deal's finally done. We can, submit invoices to those, to the developers to have those expenses reimbursed along the way.
Okay.
So, yeah. We as Chip and Julie, Ira, Donna, and I, and we work with our new council as well too. We've tried to make sure that this, the county is well protected in this, and that, and we may have been a little overdoing it when we said 3 times in the agreement that it'll be paid out of pocket. So we reiterated that several times. But we've had conversations about that as well too. This is the first step. Again, it's a preliminary step. If they have to make the application mid-January of 2017, North Carolina Housing Finance gives the first approval. There's a second approval. Come back here. In the meantime, we will have been doing our due diligence going forward. Working with all the equity partners that they have, just to making sure the project does succeed for the county.
Kevin?
Yeah. Dave, we're selling the hospital for $775.
Somewhere in there, yes.
Okay. And then, but if we sell it, you said we don't get it back. Why would we want it back if we sell it? I guess I don't understand that.
Well, if I was said to look at any risk that we have, so if we do sell it, then if something happens to the project, we would not get the hospital back. There would not, on this type of sale, we wouldn't have a reverter back on it to where, because it'll become the collateral. It'll become the collateral of the new entity and the trustee at that point, once the once
and it would be up
sold.
to them as to what to do with it.
Correct.
That's what I was wondering about.
As as we talked last time, it's a $70,000 a year money pit that I think Mr. Burris in the back would like to see rid of there. But again, it's going to have we're going to help with the historical tax credits there. So the project goes forward, it will still retain its historical significance.
Okay. And then, well, I know rentals aren't readily available in our area right now, and I kind of divided it out: 300 units and 45 units, about $150,000 per unit, which seems about what it would cost to build, multi. I don't know what it costs to build something like that, but that per unit, that seems like that would be fair. And I know the Great Laurels have been a success because, for our community, especially for seniors. I talk to people all the time that live out there, and they're really happy with that facility.
Yeah, and the project, behind there is going to have a similar look to the Laurels. The project closer to the road there, right at the Jewel Noland entrance, is going to have a mixed commercial look, commercial on the bottom. May offer the potential things they've discussed is offering medical services there, a company offering medical services, and it'll be there. That unit will be dedicated to families there too. So we'll have 2 seniors and a place for families to reside. So,
Michael?
This process is pretty well, it's set up to do these kind of projects, and it's got lots of checks and balances through the state and how it's all set up, and basically it's a avenue to do affordable housing, in order to help areas be able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm reading.
And it started back in 1986, so we're in its 30th year of the program, and it's growing, and it's more needed now than probably ever. Just looking at some of the information that Donna has provided,
And this process is used throughout North Carolina.
It is.
And so it's not new. I mean, it's a pretty proven.
So, but when the tax credits pass from the IRS, down, it has to go to the North Carolina Housing Finance. So there is, as you said, there's that check and balance there. So there's that first check and balance. We say, hey, we're interested in this project. You proceed. Then it goes to the North Carolina Housing Finance for them to start doing their due diligence as well, too, on the project.
And then, of course, we've mentioned that. You've mentioned it several times. There's no obligation. I mean, on the county will have no obligation whatsoever for the repayment of the bonds, and will not pledge the full faith and credit of Haywood County or any other public entity. And one of the questions, I guess, that I would have, so once you go through all this process and you submit or put the bonds out there for purchase, and then if you don't have a very good response, then it just kind of just doesn't work out.
Mr. But I don't think, when we were talking, I don't think that's usually finding the purchasers of tax-exempt bonds has usually not been a problem. And if anything, and if anything, Mr. Emmond also gave us examples where if one was in trouble and they had to reissue there, that people are more than happy to go and do the bump up to ensure and protect the project as well too. Mr. Emmond has over 500 units that he manages alone, with him and his company manage alone. So feel the great confidence with him helping steer the bonding process through there. They have lots of experience at that. So.
And then basically what we're doing here tonight is just approving to start the process to look at this to see if this in fact will work.
Right. Yep. They start their process and we start it. We're both we're working on our due diligence and they're starting the process.
And so we got an opportunity to address a problem that is right now, I mean, that we have in this county, and it's going to get continually worse if it's not addressed. So, I mean, I think it's we've looked, the whole time I've been on the board, we've tried to do this and try to work this, and we keep running into roadblocks, but, this might be a situation that will work this time.
We will not have an opportunity at the 9% tax credit, which was, through Landmark and the Fitch that was presented in the last, they said that we just will not, that will just not happen here. It's become more competitive.
It's very obvious we are just not competitive with the urban
project.
areas of North Carolina. I've made trips to Raleigh to talk to the North Carolina Housing Authority. We've put together excellent packages and partnered with Mountain Projects and others. It just isn't happening. And the more conventional route is not designed for assistance in rural areas and small towns. That's just a fact of the matter. So this is probably the only thing that's available to us.
And as I said earlier, that Landmark said this is the only way that to get the hospital done, but they didn't have the resources that the local team brought forth with the two projects out there at Lake Junaluska that they've worked hard to acquire, to fulfill this project for 300 units.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, if not, then would entertain a motion to approve a resolution giving preliminary approval to the issuance of revenue bonds to finance the acquisition, rehabilitation, construction, and equipping of affordable housing developments as described.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Yes.
May I have a moment?
Please.
Thank you. Mr. Swanger, this is to you. I want to tell you thank you for your leadership, your guidance, and your mentoring over the last 20-plus years for me. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. We've had, we've had a few words to each other a time or two as well, too. And I just want to let you know that I only meant half the things I called you. But I want to tell you thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you for your kind words.
Haywood County. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I feel the same way. Thank you. Okay. All right, thanks. Okay. Next up is a resolution to declare surplus for the purpose of a trade-in of a Polaris Ranger 800 XP 4x4 vehicle as credit toward the purchase of a second Sportsman vehicle. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Good evening, gentlemen. This evening, I come before you requesting the approval of a resolution to declare surplus and trade-in on one Polaris Ranger 800 XP 4x4 vehicle for the credit toward the purchase of two 2016 Sportsman 570 EFI 4x4 vehicles from Polaris of Waynesville being the informal low bid, leaving a balance of $8,907.86 to be paid out of the Sheriff's Office budget. The resolution reads as such: whereas under North Carolina General Statute 160A, 265 authorizes the Board of Commissioners of Haywood County to dispose of surplus, and whereas North Carolina General Statute 143-129.7 allows bidders to purchase as trade-in property owned by the county, and whereas Haywood County has in its possession one 2009 Polaris Ranger, purchased 11/12 of 2009 with a current book value of 0, with the VIN number ending in 7003 is no longer of use to the county. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners of Haywood County is authorized to declare surplus and adopt a resolution for the surplus of personal property. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Haywood County meeting in general session on Monday, November 21st, 2016 does the following: hereby authorizes the Haywood County Purchasing Manager to declare surplus one 2009 Polaris Ranger purchased 11/12 of 2009 with a current book value of 0 and the VIN number ending in 7003 adopted this 21st day of November 2016.
Any questions of Jim? Okay, if not, then we'll entertain a motion that the resolution as read be approved.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. Okay, next up is the Human Resources Director, Kathy McClure, asking for a position to be reclassified to a full-time status. Kathy?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. First of all, I want to say to you, thank you for your service to Haywood County. You have been a real support to me since I took this job in 2011, and the board has been very supportive, so we'll miss you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm here to request approval for a reclassification of a 3/4 position that was in the Tax Collections Department. It was an administrative assistant 2. The position has now been vacated. The request is to reclassify this position from a 3/4 position to a full-time position and to downgrade that to a tax collections clerk 1. It would actually change the pay grade from a county pay grade 65 down to a county pay grade 59. And the entry-level salary for that tax collections clerk 1 position is $24,409.43.
Okay. And the tax office is in concurrence?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Any questions of Kathy?
Kathy, this position's been vacant how long?
Zandra transferred to planning August of 2015.
Okay.
2016, sorry, 2016.
And so, I mean, if it's been vacant that long, if we made a determination that it needs to be filled?
Yes, Mike wanted to reclassify that down. He wanted to reevaluate the duties of the position. That position, I think, did a lot of administrative and financial, and the deputy tax collector now is doing most of that. And so he wanted to, he reevaluated the duties and wanted to change that from an administrative assistant down to a tax collections clerk.
Okay. Has there been a lack of, I guess what I'm asking is, I mean, sometimes when a person's gone from employment, or at least you lose that FTE and you find you don't need it replaced, I mean, I just want to make sure we need to replace it.
We looked at, Ira had made a survey about 7 different counties through the salary study from the School of Government, and we looked at those. There was like 7. There was Buncombe, Macon. I've got them here just a second, and I can tell you. We looked at Macon, Jackson, Buncombe, Swain, Henderson, Transylvania, Caldwell, Carteret, Lincoln, Chatham, Pender, Sampson, and Stanley, and in comparison to what they had reported on their salary study in 2015, we were down actually 1 position lower than that. Most of them had about 4 or 5 additional positions besides the tax collector.
Okay. So if this position's filled, the tax collecting office shouldn't have to have additional help to complete any of their activities
Not that I'm aware of.
or
no,
their
sir.
collections.
And there hasn't been any indication to me that they would be asking for additional positions in the new budget year.
And actually, I'm not asking about the ones in the office. Anybody outside the office, they shouldn't need additional help from outside the office
I wouldn't.
in order to get tax bills out and.
Oh, that's a good question.
It depends on what kind of assistance you're
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I
considering,
know they
because
use,
there are some skills that, when you go into like foreclosures and some of the other kind of skill level sets that would be needed, they'll still need legal work. I think they'll still need paralegal work beyond this.
they currently use a contracted paralegal, and I think she does some of that as well.
But as far as basic collection stuff, this would put their staffing, you know, some of those counties ran a little bit slimmer, but they were also smaller counties. When you get to equivalent size county, which is why some of those county names, you might say, why were you looking at those? Those are more equivalent size counties. They ran about the same staffing that we would be looking at here. So with the three-quarter position at a higher level, it kind of balances out to the tax clerk one in terms of money and everything else, and puts the staffing about equivalent to those others.
Ira, with a relatively new staff, comparatively speaking, will this offer more training opportunities so that the people will be more able to perform the duties that a normal collection office would perform?
I think we can offer more, you know, training opportunities. We offered one setup session with a gentleman named Mike Peters. We brought him in from the outside who does their software to set up one training, but we can certainly set up more trainings. And by having more staff, it means that you have more people available if you need to send your people to training or if your people are out sick. So it does offer you a little more flexibility when you have that.
And I believe, Mike is not here, but I believe the School of Government also offers classes periodically in tax collections in particular, because I think in the past I remember seeing some of the employees have actually attended some of those classes.
I think we need to pay attention to some of the duties that office is required to perform to collect taxes, as well as the areas that they're statutorily required to do. Matters such as preparing the order of collection, that's had help from outside to get that done, balancing the monthly accounts and receivables reports, getting the tax bills mailed, getting escrows forwarded to banks in a timely manner, preparing settlement of taxes, and the audit. Those are all things that I'm aware that office had sought outside help for within the county government. And I think to Kirk's point, you know, are we going to be more thorough and professional now in how we handle tax collections?
I think probably what we need to do is really look at how some of those duties are spread out, and possibly, I know that the financial area has been assumed by the deputy tax collector, but there are other areas there that he had expressed to me that previously they had someone who served in kind of a lead tax collections clerk capacity, and they were working on bankruptcies. And so some of those, there may be lots of other duties that this person could pick up.
When you were...
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
When you were asking the other counties, did any of them volunteer? I know you probably didn't ask this, but like since the state now collects motor vehicle taxes,
Yes, sir.
had they reduced their staff now that that's, I mean, or did they just, do you know?
We looked at surveys.
Yeah, we looked at surveys. We actually don't have the 2016 surveys yet. It probably won't be out till after the first of the year. And in different counties, they call some of the positions a little bit differently. They may we call them tax collector clerks here. In some of the counties, they call them tax technicians. So there's some different, and that may be vary what the duties are as well.
But we were able to distinguish between those who are on the real property and the appraisal
Right,
side
right.
from those who were in the collector side.
And
Based
these
on the
were
titles
only
that they were
tax
using.
collections. This was not anything to do on the assessor side or the reval side, any of those kinds of positions.
Okay. I just know that it was a lot busier when motor vehicles had to be paid in that office.
Yes,
And
sir.
it's not as busy anymore because I walk up and down that hall all the time and I rarely see somebody paying their taxes, to be honest with you. I'm sure they'll be picking up now, but motor vehicles was always a big,
It was,
problem
yes,
for
sir.
them to try to get done. And now that the state's doing it, it made it a lot easier, which they should have done a long time ago. But that kind of made me wonder. I would have thought that we would have been able to reduce staff since the state's now collecting those, so.
I think another concern that he had, because this position was initially budgeted only a three-quarter position, that if he had tried to recruit for that position, that it would have been very hard to find somebody that could work three-quarters of a time. And so he chose to look at the duties, bring it back down to a full-time position, but reclassify it to a lower level with a lower entry-level salary. So.
And there'll be another opportunity at budget time to assess whether or not this position is in fact needed. Is that a fair statement?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
You can assess at budget time. You also, that's one time to assess. You also assess when vacancies come up.
Okay.
And so, you know.
We should have the 2016 data by then as well, so,
Okay. So you will take a look at that?
yes, sir.
Yes, we can take a look at any time on the vacancies when they come up.
Okay.
Who's actually making the request? Is it Mr. Matthews or is it you?
Yes, it's Mr. Matthews. I'm here on his behalf, simply because I'm the HR director, and it comes through us, and we would have to reclassify the position. Yes, sir.
And Mr. Matthews was just here a few minutes ago, but he's not here now to ask for this.
Any other questions or comments? Is it the pleasure of the board that we move forward tonight, Kirk?
No, I don't. I want Mr. Matthews to come and explain why this is needed. I guess I'm on that hall too often, all too often, every day.
Okay.
And also, I know other departments and people talk to me there, and I know I'm not questioning the ladies that do their work. But, this is not unusual to request anytime we add someone to employment. I mean, matter of fact, I don't know the last time we've added employees.
It's been a while.
I mean, we don't add or fill the positions, and I want to make sure that this is necessary. I want to be told what this person will be doing.
Okay.
And why is there a reason now that work's not getting done, or they're overloaded with too much work and they need this?
Okay.
If he comes in and says that, then I'm okay
Okay.
with that because of the other counties. But, I would like to hear him, the director requesting it.
Okay.
I mean,
It's perfectly reasonable in my view. Does anyone disagree?
No?
Not ready for that.
Okay. Then
If it was the
I
pay
won't.
grade, it went down from what to what?
It would go down from, the administrative assistant 2 is a county pay grade 65, and if it is approved and reclassified, it would go down to a pay grade 59.
Okay. Well, obviously, I won't be here next meeting, Ira, but if you could make a note for the next chairman that the board wants to include this on probably a meeting in, probably the second meeting in December. First meeting is an administrative organizational meeting, so.
So I will make a note to whoever is elected chairman at the first meeting that this is a request for the second meeting.
Right.
Yeah, and that will be important because if it's really needed, that's when it's going to be needed.
Okay.
Because that's when you have more people coming in to pay those taxes at the end of the year.
Is there anything else that you all need from me to get together to give you the information?
Do we have a potential employee
No, this position, if it is approved, would have to be recruited for. We'd have to advertise for it.
Okay.
I'll just ditto what Kirk said, because I didn't walk that hall. Well, Kirk walks a lot more than I do, but I've observed the same thing that he just said.
Okay. All right, then it'll be at least tentatively scheduled for the second meeting in December. Okay, next up is a request for approval of an update to the Haywood County Fairgrounds bylaws, excuse me. Commissioner Inslee.
Okay, we had a little committee with our fairground bylaws. We kind of updated those. We reorganized the Fairgrounds Board in 2010, and then we've kind of evolved a little bit more, and it's always good to go back over your bylaws and get those updated and revised, and would like to get the approval by the Board of Commissioners for this. And they asked that I ask that you fellas look at these and approve them.
I read them over. They seem to be just pretty much boilerplate for the most part. Anybody have any questions of Kevin about them?
Chip, have you looked at
I did not look at them. I haven't seen them.
Has your board
I'm
approved
sure
them?
they're fine. I mean, I'd be happy to look at them, but I think they're probably fine.
And your board has approved them?
Yes, yes.
Ira, did you look at them at all?
I looked over them as well and did not have any issues or questions. Want some language, and I'm just saying this for all the people that come before us with bylaw changes, because there have been a number of them. I think 2 points need looking at. This board is retaining final authority over any of the boards that it totally appoints on those bylaw approvals. And so I've been trying to make sure that's in all of the different agreements.
Other questions, comments? If not, we'd entertain a motion then that the updated Haywood County Fairgrounds bylaws be approved.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, the sixth item of new business is our Facilities and Maintenance Director, Dale Burris, requesting a change order for the Emergency Medical Services base.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Swinger, I think I'm going to reiterate what Mr. Francis mentioned. I mean, you've worked together around each other for at least 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
You certainly have proven to be a true leader in government with the school system and county as well. So, it does not go unnoticed. I can say that. And while with everybody has disagreements, I just agree with everybody, so it really don't matter to me. So,
thank you, Dale. I would be careful though, concurring with David Francis.
I didn't concur with him. I agreed with him, and maybe that's an attorney term. So, I'm sorry. I'll move along now. Yes, I requested that the contractor. Let me back up. On the emergency management bays and the EMS bays, in the negotiation process, we actually cut out this portion of the project, reducing the amount of foam insulation for the facility. And knowing that we've made it so far with this project, and we've had one change order, and that was, of course, an owner requested change order was actually to raise the building 1 foot to get us out of the water issue that we had ran into, which I wish we could run into it again, but out of the water table. So now we're down to where I feel very comfortable that this is well worth it. We have to maintain 50 degrees in there. I think we can maintain 60 degrees and meet the energy above what the energy efficiency is. So the request is to approve change order number two. Owner requested change order number 2 in the amount of $19,500, which will increase the construction contract for John Bergen Construction to $2,023,750.
If I recall correctly, that was a very difficult decision you made to eliminate it the first time. You wanted to keep it.
It was very hard to cut something out that that future generations are going to save money on. That's correct.
Any questions of Dale? If not, would entertain a motion that change order number 2 for the Haywood County Emergency Medical Services Emergency Management Base, as described, be approved. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And now Julie will offer a budget amendment to pay for this.
I have a budget amendment in your packet for the $19,500. There's $69,125 in contingency for the project, so it hasn't really been used. So by taking $19,500, it's still going to leave some money in that project.
Any questions of Julie? If not, would entertain a motion that the budget amendment as presented be approved. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, thank you. All right, we'll stay with Dale, requesting a temporary construction easement and a stormwater easement for Ingalls Market number 58, located in Brown Avenue in Hazelwood.
Yes, sir. I was approached by Ingalls Markets and the town of Waynesville. Whenever the law enforcement center was constructed, I, of course, wasn't here, but most of you were on this board. The stormwater from Ingalls Market basically ran into the existing location where the law enforcement center is. So they picked up the stormwater there. They ran it into a bioretention pond that's located down below the jail annex, the impound lot area. So now what Ingalls Market is moving forward with plans to actually build a new facility on that site, which will just enhance that area that much more. And so in doing so, they need to be able to sheet flow their water, I'll make it very clear, their water from the parking lot into the storm drainage.
Repeat that word again, I didn't miss.
Sheet, S-H-E-E-T, flow their water to, picking on me now, into the storm water and deliver it to the bioretention pond at the location where it's going to now. So now it'll be picked up. They're going to do all the enhancements. Haywood County, there's not going to be any charge to Haywood County. Actually, if I read this document correctly, this would be the first time in the history that I've worked here that I actually generated any revenue, and I think it's $10.
That's something we can be a good neighbor. It'll help us and help them.
That's correct, sir.
Any questions or comments? Okay, then entertain a motion to approve the temporary construction easement and permanent stormwater easement for Ingalls Market number 58 as described.
So move.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you. All right. We'll stay with Dale for the next item for funding to furnish and install a new covered aluminum awning at the Haywood County Agricultural Facility to be paid from general fund contingency. Dale?
Yes, sir. As you see in the background, on June 16, 2016, Leslie Smathers, which is over the Soil and Water, actually requested to install a shelter for the Haywood County Cattlemen's Association cooker and trailer beside the existing Haywood County storage facility located at 589 Raccoon Road. Haywood County actually furnished and installed the metal building that's actually constructed there now in 2003, which is listed as commercial storage. Based on our previous experience with structures such as this, actually went back to the company we used on all our facilities, and that was Simpson Aluminum. They've been providing our aluminum structures such as this that would attach to it, the facility, and we would pick the color to match the existing facility. The cost for the installation for the facility, furnished materials, labor, would be $6,000.
I went out there and Leslie gave me a tour and showed me what it was needed for, and it seems to be appropriate, I think. And Cattlemen's Association had offered to pay for a much simpler solution, but that would have taken away scholarship money from from students to pay for it, which doesn't seem logical, so.
Well, I think the solution that you're speaking of, a lot of people has them, and they're there for a simple solution. That's just to cover something.
Yeah. So any other questions or comments? If not, then would entertain a motion that the aluminum awning be installed at the Haywood County, to be installed at the Haywood County Agricultural Facility, be approved.
So move.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. And Julie, budget amendment?
I have a budget amendment from the general fund to put this $6,000 into Dale's budget, and we're going to hit contingency. We're reducing contingency for that $6,000. And after we do that, we'll still have about $267,000 left in contingency.
Okay. If there's no questions, then we'd entertain a motion to approve the budget amendment as presented. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 It's unanimous. Okay, we move to the last item of new business. As everyone knows, we had an election, and among the items to be decided was the permitting and selling of certain alcoholic beverages out in the county. So there's procedures that have to be followed with the ABC Commission, and I'll call on Ira Dove.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, as those who've come before me, I would like to thank you for your service for the past many years, and thank you. We have worked closely over the last 3 years, and I know you've been dedicated to the county and the service you've done over the last 20. There are quite a few accomplishments that you have able to work through, and I think that the county is much better off for everything from the transparency you brought to these meetings, which are being video recorded, on to some of the projects you've helped shepherd through. So thank you for all of your work in making the county a better place.
Thank you, Ira.
Yes, as you mentioned, there was a referendum on ABC proposition. There were 5 ballot issues, all of which passed. And those results are to be canvassed, but they would tack back to the November 8th date of passage. With regards to the sales of malt beverages and unfortified, was passed by majority of the votes. And whereas North Carolina General Statutes 18B 904F permit the Board of County Commissioners to designate an official by name or office to make recommendations or register objections to the State of Alcohol Control ABC Commission concerning suitability of a person or location for an ABC permit, and whereas the aforesaid statute requires the Board of County Commissioners to notify the ABC Commission of such designation, and whereas the person or official so designated shall follow the guidance or rules of the ABC Commission as to suitability of a person for receipt of a permit, the factors to be considered being set forth in the North Carolina General Statute, Section 18B 901C, and whereas the person or official so designated shall complete and return the local government recommendations and compliance forms required by the ABC Commission, and after consultation with the Board of County Commissioners in consideration of the factors listed in the North Carolina General Statute, Section 18B 901C, make recommendations to the ABC Commission based on suitability of the proposed permit location. Now therefore be it resolved that Ira Dove, County Manager, is hereby designated pursuant to North Carolina General Statute, Section 18B 904F, to make recommendations or register objections to the ABC Commission concerning suitability of a person or location for an ABC permit pursuant to the guidelines of the ABC Commission and the provisions set forth in the above resolution, that said county manager shall notify the North Carolina ABC Commission, and that the Board of Commissioners shall be advised upon receipt of an application for permit as set forth in NCGS Section 18B 901B.
Okay.
So,
all right. So basically, Ira is the board's point man for applications to sell certain alcoholic beverages. Any questions or comments about that?
I guess the public just needs to know that you make application through the state, but you are the person that's going to, I mean, they go back to a local person to look at to say, you know, do you have an objection as to this particular person having this license?
yes. Yes, we put together a list of what permittees would need to do for the public. and the things that we look at locally. For example, they have to have their building and fire inspection, so I've asked that I see those signed off before we sign as the local level. They have to be fingerprinted, and they have to sign on their application that they meet the qualifications to do this, so I've asked to see the complete application form. We're not adding anything additional that a permittee wouldn't have to do. We're just making sure that they've done all the steps and that we can read it as part of our due diligence.
Questions of Ira? If not, then would entertain a motion that the resolution designating Ira pursuant to North Carolina General Statute Section 18B 904F be approved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Is there any other business for the board?
I got something to say.
Oh, okay.
I just want to thank you, Mark. I wrote down a lot of stuff here, and I just want to thank you for your leadership. You know, I just got through with a campaign, and a lot of things I campaigned on, we passed together. You know, Kirk and Mark and I were first elected in 2002, and I got to thinking, Mark has served, and Kirk and I have served with every county manager that Haywood County's ever had, all 5 of them. So I think that's saying we've been here a long time. And but I want to thank Mark for his leadership, and I think he has a gift for how government should operate in a fair and open and transparent way. And as issues have arisen, he always has a tremendous sense in how they should be handled. And I thought back over the last 12 years. I know if you're watching this commissioners meeting tonight, it's because Mark wanted us to do. We did the board rules, and part of the board rules was videotaping the meetings. We also we don't vote on anything that's not on the agenda, and Mark wanted that in the board rules. And we televised the meeting. So I think we don't vote on anything. If we vote on something, we suspend the rules and do that. So it's called attention to it. And Mark wanted that in the board rules. And if it's controversial, we don't vote on it at all either. I know during Mark's tenure and Kirk and my tenure, we built the Justice Center, a law enforcement center, and jail. And these were built on time and within budget. And I can remember Mark wanted us to have a construction manager on site when we did that. And you think, well, is that a waste of money? But somebody's looking out for the county's interest. And that has been a proven thing that we've done on all our building projects. And now we have Dale. We didn't have a Dale before, but we didn't have Dale as their. So now we do. But before that, we would hire a construction manager, and that helped us do that. And I know Mark was instrumental in that. I remember we passed a $20 million bond in 2004, and Mark was instrumental in that, which basically we built a Bethel Elementary School. We were building additions to Tuscola and Pisgah's auxiliary gyms, and we did some other additions. And we also were there when Mark helped us, and when we did the floods in 2004, and we had to do the state and federal programs. And so Mark was there for that. He helped us with that. I know he helped when we did the renovation on this courthouse. We selected the architect for that, and it was done while we weren't in office for a couple of years. A lot of the construction was. In 2009, I know Mark recognized that our budget was getting in the red, but we basically come in mid-year, and he caught that. We came in the mid-year, and we cut the budget, and we reduced our workforce to keep the county financially solvent during that time. That was a tough economic time. Really, the last several years have been tough economic times, and I feel like we've kind of weathered this with the county, and I know Mark's leadership has been very important in that. I remember we were on the old DSS building. I remember we were getting ready to put a roof on it, and Mark said, we'd already looked at the old Walmart property, and we knew it was a good fit for the county. It was in the middle of the county. It would revitalize a shopping center, and we just didn't do it. We didn't pull the trigger, and I can remember we were going to put a roof on that DSS building at the old hospital, and Mark was like, do we want to keep doing this? And that kind of got us refocused on that project, and now we have our DSS and health department all in one location. It's been co-located, and it saves taxpayers money because we're able to combine our staff, and he helped with that. He went to Raleigh and saw where we could do that, and I appreciated his leadership on that. Let's see. And now he recognized that by that project, we were told it would cost us $25 million to do that project. And we did that project for $12 million. And that saved taxpayers half the money. But not only that, because now we have adequate space, we get reimbursed from the state and federal government at a higher level. And with the Tractor Supply and also in that building, they make half our payment. Taxpayers only have to pay half the payment on that building. And I think Mark recognized a USDA loan was the best way to go on that, and we were able to do that. And I appreciate his leadership on that, and I'm going to keep saying that. We privatized the landfill, which was hard. I mean, because it's an asset the county has, but we privatized it. And over the next 30 years, we're going to save $59 million, and that's money in taxpayers' pocket. And I know Mark was a big proponent of that, as well as our other solid waste services. We partnered with Mountain Projects a few years ago to deliver senior services. We were the second oldest county in the state, and we didn't have senior services, and Mark recognized that. He recognized that Mountain Projects could do that. We had a building, a Council on Aging building, that we really weren't using, and so we were able to partner with that. And Mark taught me about partnerships and how we should do partnerships. So, but we were able to do these services, and the taxpayers, we didn't have to hire a staff to do senior services. Those were already available, and Mark recognized that, and we were able to do senior services. And I've been a part of all these things that we've done, and he's recognized those and what we can do. I know we took care of our homeless situation with the Haywood Pathway Center. We had that space, and we didn't really have a use for that. And I know Mark, I was a big proponent of that, and he helped us get, usher that in, and that's helped reduce the jail recidivism rate through the sheriff and the churches, and that saved taxpayers money over the years. I think one thing you can look at Mark, you can say a lot of things, but he saved taxpayers money in the grand scheme of things. If you look at all these things, it has saved us money. And I know that, to add on to the jail, we were looking at $1 million to build a new jail space there. So we're not having to do that right now. Soon, maybe we will one day, but we were busting at the seams in 2013. I think the sheriff's sitting back there, and I think he's shaking his head. He'd tell you that. We worked with the sale of Duke, to sell the hospital to Duke Life Point. That was a real tough time. Kirk was on the board when they lost their decertification. And Mark was he helped us through with that. And then also we set up this fund now with the proceeds from the sale of the hospital be maybe $20 million and up to $20 million, I think. And we're going to put that, Mark had the vision to put that in a trust to where we could have that for educational efforts for our citizens with some of our chronic illnesses that we have, like diabetes and heart disease, that we can educate our public on what they can do to not be in those situations and health situations. So I look forward to how that plays out in the future, and Mark was big instrumental in that. And this year, Mark, I know the land use ordinance for high impact ordinance, he was a big proponent of that, and that helps protect our homes and our schools and our hospitals and other nursing homes and other similar facilities from uses that could be detrimental to our health and property values. And we did a couple of ordinances this year. And most of the last, and like I said before, most of the last 2 terms have been some of the toughest economic times in our nation. And through all that, and all the things that I just said, our debt today is less than it was in 2008 because we were proactive and we took care of these needs. And we didn't raise taxes to do it. The tax rate in 2002 was 0.61, and today it's less than that. And we've done revenue neutral budgets. There's been, I think, 2 tax increases, which maybe total 5 or 6% in 14 years is all. And we've been good stewards. I think Mark has led us to be good stewards of our tax base and of our citizens. And I could keep going on. We've got a sewer line now that we're going out on 209 that I know Mark is wanting us to do an enterprise zone out through there, which I think is a good idea to make sure that is for economic development. But I just wanted to say, Mark, I appreciate your leadership, and it sounds like I'm campaigning or something, but I'm not. These are the things that we've accomplished that I feel that have been big accomplishments that you've led us to do through all this time. And you've been a good friend to me and a great commissioner to serve with, and I know I'm a better person than being able to serve with you. I appreciate that. And I know I'm going to miss your leadership, and I've been honored to serve with you during this time, and I wish you the best in your retirement. And I know that if I have an issue or a problem I need help on, that I can give you a call. So, and I know that I'll be able to do that. So thank you, Mark, for all your leadership. And I hope I didn't take too much of everybody's time, but I just wanted to touch on those subjects because Mark's been a great leader for our county.
Well, thank you. We have together as a team accomplished a lot, this board. Commissioners have to be good in a lot of things. You don't have to be great, though, at math. If you can count to 3, you can get a lot of things accomplished. But in this board was almost always unanimous, and was these accomplishments were truly a team effort, truly, and I mean that. Chip, you said.
Mr. Chairman, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I've been county attorney going on 45 years, and I've seen lots of boards and lots of chairmen, and 2 of them are sitting right here who have been 2 of the most outstanding ones we've ever had. And the collegiality on this board is beyond belief, really. And when I talk to county attorneys across the state and hear about what goes on those boards, and I have to tell them, that just doesn't happen in our county. We work together and work things out because we have good leadership. So I want to thank you for that, and also the way that you run the meetings is outstanding and transparent. And it was the same way when Kirkpatrick was the chairman. And other chairmen have also been great, but I just want to address this particular board because I feel like I have a perspective over having been here for 45 years.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you for your service.
Okay, I'd like to congratulate Kevin on his reelection, and also Brandon Rogers is in the back observing. Not quite a deer in the headlight look, but I'm sure he will provide great services to the county as well. So, if there's no further business.
I guess I need to say something because I'm not going to match Kevin, but I guess Mark and I started a lot earlier together. 1996, I was at Meadowbrook Elementary, had my 30 years in. I was going to retire, go home and have a good time. But as things developed, the superintendency came open. I applied, and sometimes you have to be careful of what you ask for, and I made it. So Mark and I worked together for 6 years. Just like I told the newspaper, we spent our time talking about curriculum and how to improve test scores. Mark didn't get into the personnel. He felt like that was my job to do. And I was thinking of one thing David Francis said. One thing people don't understand about Mark, you can disagree with Mark. I know I've had telephone calls. My wife said, Bill, you won't have a job. But as long as we were man to man, face to face, you didn't complain. We kept it that way and did a lot of good things. And then after that, you said, Bill, you might want to be a commissioner. So I ran for commissioner, and we've been together for 10 years. And what I like about this board is, we don't call each other during the week and say, what you going to vote on? What you think about this? We get our packet on our iPad on Thursday, read it over, we come together and discuss it in open session. So we don't really worry about how something is going to fall. It's not that many times that we have split votes. We've been together. We tried to do what's best for citizens of Haywood County. I truly believe Mark and the rest of us, our hearts are in the right place. And that's the main thing. So, Mark, what I worry about, Sue, is what in the world is he going to do? Is he going to drive you crazy? So please get him out of the house and get him doing something. So, good luck to you. And if you want to come to address the board one night, we'll give you all the time you want.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Well, I said a few things over when you received the, and I think you need to make sure that the public knows that Mark received the award from the governor.
Order of the Longleaf.
The Order of the Longleaf, which is a very distinguished award that he received. and I wish we had it here so we could show that he actually received that, and I have not been.
There's a picture in the paper today of it.
Okay, good. So people know that. But I've known Mark only the 14 years that we've campaigned against each other and have served on this board. And through that, we've become good friends. We've become respectful of each other's opinion. And as I said in that meeting the other day, I value his opinion on all issues. And we've disagreed a few times, but most of the time we do agree, and it's because we've come from two different places and have many discussions and come out with a way to that's at least a positive for the county, and that is the goal, I think, of any commission is to have and express the different ideas and concerns that you do have, but yet, I mean, and not always agree, but come out, no matter the vote, in support of that same idea. And you don't take that beyond that particular point. And I think as a board that we've done that. And I agree with Bill. I mean, you can talk with Mark, and if you, as long as you talk to him man to man and up front, you know, he'll listen to you, and you can disagree or agree. And we've done that several times.
Agree to disagree.
And that's right. And that's right. And then you move on and you don't hold it against each other. But I said the other day that I am going to terribly miss Mark because of his perception of things. You know, it does help when you have somebody who's been in the FBI forever. They can kind of tell when somebody's shooting straight with you or not. And also the vision that he has had. And Kevin mentioned all of those things. I will say that there's never been a commissioner that I have served with does not believe that I don't think that they did not have the best interest of the county at heart. They always have the best interest of the county at heart. They may have a bit different idea what that is. And I think Mark truly has that. I mean, Mark believes in this county and has supported and guided this county for many years, and you're very much appreciated.
It's my turn.
You.
Well, I'm obviously the least serving or with time with this board, but I want to thank you very much for when I came on, you made sure that I was included, brought up to speed, you know, right out of the gate. So, and you know, I want to thank all of the board members for, you know, the vision that we all shared in moving Haywood County forward. And you've been a great friend, a great supporter. And, you know, I've expressed that several times in the last, you know, times when we talk and everything. And I mean that very much. And it's going to be a different board. It will be for me anyway. And, but it's been a pleasure serving with you, and I really appreciate your leadership, and you will be missed.
Thank you. Thank all of you for your very kind comments. It's been an absolute honor to serve the people of Haywood County, and it's been a labor of love. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I get into policy stuff sometimes, and I find myself enjoying it. And the staff, Julie, Ira, and those before you, thank you. You're absolutely top-notch.
It's been a pleasure, truly.
Thank you.
All right, now, since there's no other business, I'll call for one last motion. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.